Negative rational exponents are going to mix two ideas together. First thing we're going to deal with is the negative, so we'll want to change it to positive exponents. So with that, we'll be moving between numerator and denominator based on where we started. And then the rational exponent part will change to a radical so that we can evaluate it. So if we have x raised to the negative 1 over n, first thing we would do is think about moving. Since we're starting in the numerator, we'd move to the denominator, and then changing it to radical form would just be focusing on the rational part, so 1 over n would be the nth root of x. If we start in the denominator, then we'd be moving to the numerator. So if we have x to the negative 1/4, this would move to the denominator and would be the 4th root of x. If we have a value in the numerator, it doesn't really change much. Again, the negative tells us to move to the denominator, and then we'd have the nth root of x to the m power. So if we have x to the negative 2/3, the negative tells us to move to the denominator, and that's a cube root of x squared. So let's look at some examples with this. So 16 to the 1/2 power, so I'm going to think about my fraction. So the negative is telling me to move to the denominator, so that base of 16 moves to the denominator, and where I had negative 1/2, it's now positive 1/2. And then the numerator, I'll just have a placeholder of 1. So this will be 1 over, and 16 to the 1/2 is the same thing as square root of 16. And then we'll just evaluate the square root of 16, so I'll be 1 over 4. 25 to the negative 3/2, so we'll move to the denominator, and then we'll have a positive exponent of 3/2, or 1. With that exponent of 3/2, so the denominator of 2 tells me we're taking a square root, and then 25 as our base with an exponent of 3. So this will be the same thing as 1 over the square root, and then we just need the number for 25 cubed, which is 15,625. And then we just need the square root of that number, which is 125. So this will end up with 1 divided by 125. And this last one here, so first thing we need to do is make the exponent positive. So this negative 36 in parentheses will all move to the denominator, and then that negative 1/2 exponent is now positive 1/2. And then we'll have 1 in the numerator. And that's the same thing as 1 over the square root of negative 36. And square root of a negative we cannot do. So this is not a real number. So taking that even root of a negative number, we can't do. So we'll be stuck with not a real number there. And that's how we use our negative rational exponents.